Hey, welcome to another Page and Pint video update. Today I'm going to go through the books I read in June. I'm a little bit late. I wasn't home for a couple weeks at the start of July, so I'm doing it now. But before we do that, I'm going to crack open this white Bronco, a New England IPA from Idyll Hounds. I think this was canned last week. I saw on their Instagram. It's great. I've had it before. They release it, I don't know, a couple times a year, I think they brew it. Just dry hopped to all hell, juicy and everything you want out of a hazy IPA. All right, I've got 4 books to talk about today. It's been we're a couple weeks into July now, so it's been a while since I read these. So let's see if I can remember. First up, The Immoralist by Andre. I don't know how to pronounce that. Gide. Andre Gide. I don't know. I liked this one a lot. This is basically a guy has tuberculosis. He's on his deathbed, um, and then he suddenly gets better. And when that happens, he starts to reflect on kind of how he's living his life, his job, his friends, the people he surrounds himself with, and he kind of has that existential moment of like, what am I doing here, sort of. Part of that is him exploring his sexuality, and part of that involves uh, teenage boys. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just what happens. That being said, if you kind of separate that out from, obviously, from a moral perspective, that's awful. No one's debating that. Um, but while this is all happening, his wife gets tuberculosis. So she's like on her deathbed now, and he's sort of got this new outlook on life. So he's going out and surrounding himself with these kind of different. He's hanging out in like the dark corners, kind of. Just a whole different vibe from his previous life. There's all kinds of moral questions, and then there's like your gut is telling you what he's doing is selfish. Obviously, he's got a sick wife, but that's kind of what this book explores is like, is that selfish to be true to yourself and get the most out of life, even if what that means is immoral. Yeah, strange book. I did really enjoy it. Obviously, some unsettling stuff with the people he chooses to explore his sexuality with. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I bought another book by him. I don't know what it was though. Got it. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lafcadio's Adventures. I don't know. Again, this was kind of dark and weird, but I really liked his writing style. That's why I want to kind of explore his work outside of this very divisive sort of premise. Anyway, on to the next one. I read Death Valley by Melissa Broder. This was a fun one. It's like equal parts tragic and funny. It follows this woman who has her dad is in a coma basically, on death's door, and then she's got a chronically ill husband that she also takes care of. So obviously she's got a ton on her shoulders. She decides to head out into the desert for a break from all of this and stays at a Best Western, I think, kind of a chain motel, and then sets out on a trail to hike, and a bunch of weird shit happens. This is like magical realism. She finds this giant cactus and she like goes into the cactus and all this stuff happens. Definitely trippy, but it explores grief in a way that I really appreciated. Specifically anticipatory grief with her dad's obviously dying and she knows this and she's kind of confronting that through this journey on this trail in this desert. So yeah, super unique book. Melissa Broder has yeah, just a unique voice, and I want to read some other books by her. Milk Fed and the Pisces. Yeah, cool new author that I hadn't read anything by. Next up, we have Silent Creek by Tony Wirt. This is an advanced copy. This book comes out in October. This is a fun book. It's just a blockbuster thriller. We've got Jim McCann, who was this town star high school basketball player, but then moved on with his life, obviously, and then his dad gets sick and passes away, and he has to move home to his hometown to take over his dad's business. There's someone else who works for his dad's company who was his teammate on the high school basketball team, and then there's this other character in town who's got it out for Jim, kind of bitter about some stuff that went down in high school. And then there's some romance. It's tense, and it's like old grudges coming back to haunt him. It gets pretty wild. It's a page turner for sure. I would recommend this if you're in a reading slump and you just want something that you can't put down that's just fun. Just a fun time, just a fun ride. So he wrote this book called Pike Island that I read last year that I also really liked. Similar type of book, just a fun thriller, which I love to pepper in throughout the year. So yeah, again, that's out October 7th. Silent Creek. Last up, we have Angel Down by Daniel Kraus. I don't know how to pronounce any author's last name. I'm slowly realizing that, and I don't realize it until I start making this video. I realize I've never said a name out loud. This is another advanced copy, although I think it's out. If not, it's out in July. This was up until a book I read last week. This is probably my favorite book I've read this year. I think this is going to be on Booker list, all that sort of stuff. This follows kind of a low-life soldier in World War I who primarily sticks to the back lines and is responsible for like burying all the bodies. And then one day he's called up with a group of other sort of grunts to there's a scream coming from no man's land, and they think it's a fallen comrade, and they want to send this group out to go euthanize the fallen soldier. And when they get there, they discover it's not a fallen soldier, it's actually an angel. And then they have to figure out what to do. And this book does not stop. As a matter of fact, it's written in a way where the sentences never end. I don't know if I explained that right. Like the end of every chapter is like mid sentence. It's just going and going and going and going. It's all one just crazy journey, and it gets very dark, and I really liked it. It does a good job of showing like the darkest side of humanity. It balances being a fun, like a fun, tense journey with a lot of good reflections on just how awful people can be. So yeah, Angel Down. This is the same author as Whalefall, which I haven't read, but I've heard great things about. I think the only other book I read last month, I listened to a book by is it Catriona Ward? Katrina Ward? Last House on Needless Street, that author. I read her book, Looking Glass Sound, which I don't know what it is with me and audiobooks, but if I listen to an audiobook and then you ask me about that book a month later, which is what's happening now because I read that a month ago, it's very spotty. I remember the book being very confusing in general. This kid grew up in this small town in Maine on this lake, sort of like a vacation home, and he meets these other two kids. And then there's this serial killer, and you don't really know who it is. And you start to, it hints at it being one of them. And then there's this separate, but maybe it's the same person who's taking Polaroids of kids at night. It gets confusing halfway through because it becomes a book within a book. And whenever that happens, I tend to just get completely lost. That being said, it's a fun time, and the audiobook was really well done. The voice acting was great. So yeah, I like her. I liked Last House on Needless Street a lot. I would say I liked that more than Looking Glass Sound, but still a fun ride. I think that's all I got. I appreciate you watching, and I've already read a few books in July, so I'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk about those. Cheers.